Hello guys, today we are going to learn how to do motion design for our UI projects. Not the kind of motion design that gets you headache. The one we are not going to use After Effects, not Premiere Pro. We are going to be using a simple tool named Jitter and Figma, which I believe most of you are already familiar with. I believe motion design is extremely crucial in presenting our work. It helps us present our work in a more professional manner, and it makes it more interactive and more interesting as well. So by the end of this video, you will be able to make this dynamic island animation. All of the files that we will be working on can be found in the link in the description down below. So let's get right into it. So first up, we will be starting with opening our Figma, of course. So when you open the Figma file, you will get something like this. There are two frames, there are two iPhones, some components, and actually when you get them, they will be like this. They will be apart from each other. The reason they are apart from each other, they are outside the frame. When starting to use Jitter, we need to put the elements that we will be using inside our frames. Okay, so for instance, you guys can pick any of the two frames that I've provided, either 3:4 ratio or the 1:1. I'll be going with the 1:1, 1:1 ratio. So I'll select all of my elements right here, and then I'll just drag them into my frame so that they are right in there. Then we'll just select this frame. It's as simple as that. Go down there and search Jitter in plugins. You can see here Jitter animation for Figma. Then when the screen opens up, there will be the plugin that starts working, and what it will basically do is it will ask you to copy all of the layers from Figma. Yours might be faster than this. My laptop has multiple processes going on right now. So see, right here we can see the name of the frame that we are working on and the copy button. When I press copy, it will start copying all of these things into the Jitter workplace. Okay, and then we will take it on from there. It's not an internal plugin. It helps us to take our files and transport them to Jitter. And I believe it's quite better than After Effects, because in After Effects you have to manually export everything. This is way easier. So right here we have the button to open Jitter. We can even copy to clipboard, but it's so easier if we can just open it in Jitter itself. Then it will open my browser. So it will take a minute to set everything up. And the user interface of Jitter is quite similar to Figma actually. You'll get a gist of that in a minute. And here we have our Jitter workspace completely set up. I did not do anything manually. I just pressed the open to Jitter button and everything was imported right here. So as you can see, on the left hand side we have the layers panel. Okay, that is similar to Figma. Actually, even this UI, it is similar to the older version of Figma, if any of you have seen that one. At the top we have a toolbar which we won't be using mostly. We will be using the 80-20 rule, which is we use 20% of the things, we use 80% of the time that one. And on the right side we have again the properties panel where we can adjust and edit things. So that is the one where we are going to be spending the most amount of time. Over here at the top you can see a design section, and we even have an animate section. When we press that, a timeline appears at the bottom, and then we can start actually playing with things in real time. We can start doing the motion design. Now in the layers you can see over here we have a dynamic island component, dynamic island compact. You can play around with that. What we want, where we want, that's not exactly where we want it to be. So I'll select both of them, the dynamic island component and the rectangle below it. I have placed them as separate components because that's how we are going to need it later on. I'll just snap them to the top of the other widget. And right now it is behind in terms of layers, so we'll just drag it on top. Okay, so that's good. Now we will head over to animate and start animating it. So at the beginning of the animation, I want things to I want people to understand that this has actually begun now. So I want the phone to pop up in front of me. How do we do that? I'll just select all of these things except the background, and I'll press Command G or Control G on a Windows to group them together. We'll head over to the right tab where it says New Animation. We'll select New Animation, and then we'll be greeted by a set of custom presets. Okay, these animation presets can be used to create various animations like fade in, slide in, shrink in. We have a set of presets for in, we have a set of presets for out, and we even have custom presets. So we'll head over to custom, and we'll add scale. Okay, see, it is growing bigger. This is not how big we want it to be. Around 120% should be enough. Okay, and I'll reduce the time. See, now you can reduce the duration of this animation by going up to the properties panel on the right and doing it manually by 0.4, or you can adjust the timeline as well. I can just drag this timeline to extend the time required. Okay, so we'll give it 0.4 for now, and we'll see once I select an animation and I press play, it just plays that particular keyframe, not the other ones. You'll understand the difference in a moment. And we have a shuffle button over here, replay button, so it stays in loop. Okay, that's not how we want it to be, but yeah, it is this is how phone arrives over here. Cool. Is that looking good though? We'll give it some easing, because things don't actually work so smooth in life. That's just how life is. So easing is basically the speed and acceleration and deceleration in some way. Okay, we can adjust the smoothing. Okay, the previous one was better. With that out of the way, we are done with that. Now we'll head over to our group, and we see the first thing that we wanted to do at the beginning. We don't want these things to come up, the widgets. We want them to appear later on. So at the start, we want them to not be present. So I'll just select this big widget, and then I'll drag my timeline to the back, and I'll hide it. How do we hide it? We head over to new animation, we go to custom, and we'll add a custom keyframe, a keyframe that either hides or shows your element. So we'll select hide show, and that is the hide animation. Okay, so as you can see, our widget is now hidden. Then as we move forward, actually we want even these things to appear later on, right? Before we move forward, yeah, so there's one thing that we need to do. This dynamic element compact button element over here, I want you to duplicate it. Why I want you to duplicate it? Because that will be used later on. You'll see. I'll just name it to dynamic element. Another thing, if you zoom in, you can see over here we've got numbers and the battery icon, that is the status bar. So we need to duplicate that as well. So we'll go to home screen, under layers. Oh yeah, by the way, in the Figma file, you can even find the app icons that you can turn on or off to your liking. For my tutorial, I've turned it off because it was quite distracting. You can turn it on in the Figma layers and then import it over here to have an even realistic experience. So we go to status bar and duplicate it, and now we have two of the status bars. Okay, and I'll rename the second one as 2 status bar. And yeah, we don't want this one to be of use right now, the second ones, the duplicated ones. So we'll just add a hide keyframe, custom new animation, custom hide. Same for dynamic island, new animation, custom. I selected it from the layers, so I went on to custom and hide. So all of these things are hidden for now, but they don't make a difference to us. So the phone pops in. Okay, the phone is popping in. Now you want the dynamic island to appear. So here's the background rectangle. Okay, here's our dynamic island. First off, if you've seen the Apple dynamic island, how it works, the icons actually they are blurred in. So that's what the effect that we want to achieve. So we will go into the layers, metadata, down there in the layers. Now you can see that this text is actually been imported as an image because Jitter did not have the fonts that I had used. That's okay, we won't be needing it anyways. It works like this as well. So we will go in new animation, our custom regular presets, and we'll head down over to blur. And the animation preset that I will be using is blur and slide in, and we want it to slide into the left. I'll reduce the duration and see how it looks. Yep, that looks good. Same for the other heart icon. In, we'll go head over to the down below and blur and slide in. You want this one to come from inside, so we'll just shift the arrow. If you can see the arrows over here, they show the direction from which the animation is occurring. The sliding is happening. Okay. Now, as you can see in the timeline down below, there are 2 layers, right? So these things are animating one by one. So the number comes up and then the icon comes up. We don't want that to happen. So we'll just drag this from the timeline and make sure that they align. We can even have the timeline over here to make sure. And I will even keep the time frame like this. So when we play it, this is how it appears. Cool. you've made your first animation. Congrats. Now, another thing is that the dynamic island actually grows when it shows some notification. So it's not actually that size. That's the rectangle that we have placed on top of it. Okay. So how do we fix that? We will actually have this rectangle grow in size. Okay. So we'll just add a new animation, and custom will have a scaling animation. Okay. Now when I select scale, the default is method of that Jitter uses to scale it. It uses the initial value as 100 and it takes the final value to 150. That's not how we want it to be. We want the final value to be 100% because that's the size that we've already predefined, and we want it to increase from a smaller size. So we'll set the initial value to a low number and the final value to 100. So I'll set the initial value to something like 30%. Yeah, that works fine. And if we look at it right now, that's not working together. So yeah, we want these things to appear at the end, not at the start. Yep, that looks cool, right? Pretty good. One more thing before we move forward. The dynamic island actually, when it appears, it kind of, it speeds up. And even in real life, there's easing in our motion. We don't move at a linear pace. We accelerate and we decelerate. So these things actually occur. We need to have that in our motion design for it to feel realistic and not robotic, right? So we'll head over to easing over here, and we'll select smooth, and we'll select overshoot. So it overshoots a little while it animates. So that is the effect that we are going for, and the little dynamic island widget is complete. Now that we are done making the first part of our dynamic island animation, it is time to go to this phase 2. The first part is complete. It is appearing pretty well. Yeah, one more thing. We have our heart rate, which is 78 beats per minute. I hope that is a healthy rating. But it feels quite flat, right? So I want to add some life to it. How do we do that? I want to add some feel to it. How do we do that? I will be adding a pulse. I will be giving the heart a pulse. So those are beats. Tuk 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 tuk. I hope that makes sense to you guys. So I will go into the layers and navigate our frame for where the heart is, heart icon. Oh, by the way, and we will select the scale animation. Meanwhile, listen to me. By the way, this heart icon was completely made by me, so I made it, added some gradient, fancy lighting, and it looks I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I even made some more animations to make more videos, like more widgets animations, but I thought that I would be going too much overboard with that. So that's why I decided to just stick with one. So anyways, I've added a scale animation. I have put it to 85%, from 100% to 85%. I will now duplicate this by Command C and Command V. If you're on a Windows, it is Control C and Control V. And in the second scale animation, I want the final value to be 100%. Okay, so if you see it from here, the heart, see it goes small and big, small, big, small. Okay, so it's basically beating. The heart beats. Yeah, so once you're done with that, now you want this to collapse. Now we want this to expand into the full widget. Okay, because if you have ever seen the dynamic island widget, it expands into the full thing. Okay, to show not exactly the full thing, but the semi-full widget, the bigger widget basically. So how do we do that? For that, we will have to turn on our, remember we turned off using the height keyframe, the big widget. So we will be turning that back on. So right here, after the heart is finished having some pulse, we will head on to new, and we will select our big widget. I will select our big widget, head on to animations, custom, and then I will select show. Okay, the height show. Now of course it's still showing hidden because the action shows. Then I will go on to select show, and the widget is now visible. But we don't want it to just appear in our life like some uninvited guest. We want it to gradually come in, right? We actually want it to expand it to the full widget. We want it to grow in its potential. Anyways, so apart from the philosophy, so now it has appeared. So I will add another animation to the big widget, new animation, custom, we'll add a scale, okay, so that it grows, not out of its potential. We don't want it to be over smart, just smart. Okay, so the final value will be kept as 100. This initial value will be somewhere around 20%. Yep, that should do it. So see, it grows into this. Okay, it grows here. Another thing, it cannot be left at the center. It needs to come from its own roots, its own place. So we will again go to new animation, custom, and move. You want it to move, come from the top, right? Now over here you can see that the widget is going from right to left. That is because in the properties panel, it is moving along the x-axis. It is moving 100 pixels on the x-axis. We don't want that to be the case. We want it to be 0, because this is the final position that we want our widget to go into. The initial value, however, we will take the x coordinate and set that to -40. Now as you can see, it has moved a little up, and it will go from top to down. One more thing, but this is not where we want it to be. So I'll just zoom in, select this Bezier curve, Bezier pointer, and drag it on top, and voila, it's coming from the center. As this guy comes up, these guys, the little dynamic island needs to disappear, right? So we'll just select our dynamic island, we'll go on to new animation, we'll head to out, and then select blur and slide out. We'll have it go downstairs so that it occurs at the same time as the other guys are coming in. Okay, cool. See, cool, right? No, not yet. We need to give some space to the pulsing, the heart that has some pulse. So once you're done with that, see, now as this is coming up, we have the status bar icons. We have the time, the battery, and the Wi-Fi indicator. We want them to go out as well. How do we do that? We will go onto the home screen. We will select our status bar, not the second one, the first one, and then we will head on to the individual elements like the levels. New animation will ask them to leave, go out of alive. Okay, we'll ask them to slide out. Just so see, as this thing is growing. Did that not work well? I don't know. See, that is going outside. So I'll just adjust the timing to make sure they happen at the same time. Actually, I want it to happen before the full thing expands. Yeah, like this. Cool. Now we will add the same thing over to the time element. We'll select the time. We head on to new animation, out, and slide out. Slide out to the left this time. Okay, reduce the time so that it occurs almost at the same time as our dynamic element growing. Cool. We still have one more problem. See, while this thing is growing, when we pause over here, you can see that it is not actually growing from the notch. It is growing from the center because the ratio is off, right? This is where our rectangle comes into picture. You can head on to the layer and see dynamic island BG, right? What that thing is, that is a black rectangle. So we want that shape to expand. So how do we do that? We will head over, we will set the timeline, go on to new animation, and add a resize animation. Okay, what that does is basically resizes the animation. So we will see what is the size of this big widget, and then shift our smaller dynamic island to match it. So we'll head over here. The big widget is approximately 411 by 163. Dynamic island BG resize. Final widget should be 411.4 163. Also wanted to move, right? Of course. So I'll take it back to its place and I'll add a move animation. Okay. Again, the x value should be 0. Y value we do want it to move a little, so 20. And then I'll pick the Bezier curve and then we'll drag it down to match. The other problem we're facing now is that the bezels, the corner radius is off. There are two ways of solving this. You can either add a new animation for that, or we can just go on to design and change the corner radius to or the corner radius of this guy, which is like 54. Okay, so see, this way when we are animating it, it matches the profile of our big widget. But something seems off, right? Because the big widget is actually behind, the rectangle is in front, the big widget is behind. We want it to be in front of the layer. That's easy enough to solve. We'll just take our big widget, which is over here, and shift that to above the rectangle. How does that play out? Pretty cool. There's some timeline issue, but we'll just make the first one a little smaller so it comes before the, yeah. So the changes that I've made is basically the rectangle, when it is expanding, I've made slightly smaller in terms of timeline as compared to the widget. One thing now, see, as the widget is coming up, it is completely formed, and that's not how it actually works. That is a physically that area is not a screen. So we want it to appear, okay? So we'll just select our big widget and add some animations. So we'll go on to the layers, stable alert, frame 38. The stable alert is this small thing, by the way. I'll just new animation, create a slide in for that guy. No one really cares about him, but he's just there, so bear with him. We'll head on to frame 38. The other frames. This is the right infographic, the cool infographic I took from the Apple Watch. We are on the new animation. We'll head on to new animation and we'll select a mask center specifically because it just fits well with the grid vertical lines. We'll make the timeline a little smaller. See? Cool. And one more thing, I'll just take the timeline a little ahead. Oh yeah, we can also adjust the size of the timeline to match hold all of our elements in here. So I'll just increase it a little bit. Then I'll go inside the layers of this right infographic. I'll go over here. Frame 36, the graphs. Okay, I want these red bars. You see these red bars? I want to add another slide in animation to them. Yeah, I want them to slide in from the top, like that. See? Looks cool. Now, as these things are coming in, we also want the left side to gradually come in. So we'll select that frame. Why is this? Wait a second. Can you see this one bar over here? I hope you guys don't face this issue, but I am sadly facing it. This is one guy, an outlier, somehow just always getting in between. Yeah, anyways. So we'll head on to the left column, left stats, that's the name of the layer, and we will just select some of the elements and add a slide in animation. Okay, do I look sleepy? Couldn't care less, but yeah, I'll take the 62 BPM 2 minutes ago, new animation, slide in, my friend. We have a lot of room for you. Okay, slide in. Also, I want it to be a little faster, so I'll just grab them closer so that these things occur at the same time. Okay, this is looking cool. Now we'll just add some more slide-ins and mask-ins to the other guys as well. For example, we'll take the 78 BPM frame, new animation, mask-in. You can pick some other animation, but I found these ones work best for this animation, this one. Now, oh yeah, we also have the heart rate that needs to be coming. New animation, we go on to in and we select slide in. We have it slide in from going top to bottom. Okay, that's cool. and let's see how it's looking. Good. Oh, the heart is being chipped off, it is being cut off by some sort of frame. We'll just go into design, zoom in over here to our frame. What happened to my little heart? Someone take care of it, please. I will take care of it. These things keep happening. I'm glad that this is a minor issue. If this would have been some major problem, we would have had to head back to Figma, make the changes, then send the files again, and then start from scratch. This is a little thing that can be just fixed with a little bit of stretch. Yeah, our heart is back. Looking as good as ever. Okay, so everything is animated in. We are 3 seconds in, guys, and we have the dynamic island widget popping in like butter, as smooth as butter. That was not a good analogy. Okay, once that is done, I want to give some pulse to this heart as well, because what is a heart without a pulse? So I'll just select my frame, new animation, custom, bro, scale. Again, we don't want it to grow too big. We just want it to get a little smaller for now. Reduce the duration. 1.25 should be enough. Duplicate it. Command C, Command V, and then the second one should be 100%. Okay. Then we'll take these two animations, Command C and Command V. If you're on Windows, then that is Control C and Control V. Okay, and we have a beating heart. Cool. Then we will let this widget rest for a while, and then we'll just, this job is done. Now it needs to leave. How do we have it leave? Okay, you've invited it. How do we ask it to leave now? We take this entire widget, okay, this frame 38. We just extend the timeline a little bit. We head on to new animation, custom, and then scale. Just like it's scaled in, we'll have it scale out. Okay, then we'll have this scale to go down to around 20%. Okay, another thing, can you guess what is the next one we'll be adding? Move. Even if you did not guess it. Now, I want you to guess how we are going to add another animation. We'll select what we want to animate from our layers, head on to new animation, custom, and then move, not scale. Yeah, now it is going from the right to left because it is moving across the x coordinate. We don't want that to happen. We want it to move on the y coordinate, but we want it to go in the negative direction. We want it to go up. So we'll add it a -20. We all want to go up, right? Not to God, but I made a mistake, guys. Instead of selecting the whole big widget frame, I selected just this one element, so this table guy has been left out. So we have to redo the entire thing. Okay, this is a good sign to pay attention and not talk while you're working. So anyways, so we'll select the whole big widget layer from the layers panel, head on to new animation, custom, scale. Okay, you want it to scale to 20%. Then we will again select this, head on to new animation, custom, and move. Not across the x-axis, across the y-axis, -30. We'll select this Bezier point and just drag it up to match. Looking cool. Now we need these two, the moving and scaling, to happen at the same time. So we'll align these timelines to be together forever. I should probably stop making jokes. Yeah. Anyways, see, now our big widget is just going back home, right? Cool. but you want it to disappear while it goes back home. It's not enough that it goes back home. So while it is going back home, we'll add, just like we added slide ins, we'll add slide outs to some of the elements as well. The stable element goes out first because it was, I don't know, they're not so needed anyways. Slide out, no, we'll add again. If you have ever observed the dynamic island, which I spent a lot of time observing, it blurs out, it doesn't not slide out. A lot of it blurs out. Okay, not to be specific. So we'll just reduce the time frame. We'll have it blur out and go to the top. We'll have it slide by 2 points. That should be enough. Okay, and we'll do the same thing for the others as well. We'll select the right column, new animation out, blur and slide out. And again, we will have it reduce the duration, take it to the middle center, extend this timeline a little bit. Again, these things, the timeline, I'm eyeballing it, so even you can feel free to eyeball. I will be selecting the other frame, which is a frame of our stats. Again, the same thing, out, new animation, out, blur and slide out. Okay, go to the top, my friend, go to the top. Slide by 5 pixels. Okay, once that is done, our dynamic island is, going back home. New animation, heart pulses again, then it goes back home. That did not look good. Wait a second. That's why it is good to take a step back and actually look at your work. Okay. The reason it does not look good is because there's this massive block of rectangle that is staring at our face. It needs to go away too, right? Of course. So we'll just drag our timeline back, find that rectangle, this dynamic IBG. We'll select new animation, custom, resize. Okay. Luckily, because I have spent so much time making this, I know the original dimensions of that rectangle. It's 200 by 38. Okay. Now we can also not keep it staying. We cannot have it staying over there like some homeless person. So we'll just add a move transition as well. Okay, we'll just reduce the time duration, and we'll have it move not on the x-axis but on the y-axis on a negative of 40. Even if we are wrong, it's okay because we can just drag it up, and the camera cutout will be hidden, but that's okay. Let's see how that looks. Nah, the blur in is not that good. We will add a slide out as well, okay guys, because the blur in is blurring at the very end of the animation and not at the start, so that's not what we want. So we'll go on to our right infographics, new animation, slide out or mask out, mask and slide out. Let's say set that to top. We'll match the duration with the previous one so that it does not look as if it's something different. Yeah, that was better, See, if you stop at this frame, you can see that you can still see the 78 BPM, but you cannot see the graphs because the graphs has been masked out. So that's what we will do for the right column as well. We'll just have those guys mask out. Now we will select the left stats column, select new animation, out, mask and slide out. Go up, not down. Take it behind. Now as these things are going away, we need a little dynamic island as well, because it compresses into that. And we even need a date and time. The time date is not there, but the time, battery, and Wi-Fi, where those guys, we had sadly kicked them out of the phone, so we'll include them again. Remember, we duplicated them at the start, the 2 status bar and 2 dynamic island. We'll be using them right now. So we'll head on to the 2 status bar and see. At the beginning we had set a hide keyframe so that these guys do not come into picture. Now we will clear that keyframe by going to new animation, custom, and hide show. This time the action will be show. So at the we'll even add the second dynamic island, this guy. New animation, custom, hide show. We want it to appear again, right? Ta-da. But not right now, so we will work on that. We'll drag the timeline ahead. Go on to the second status bar. Select one of the layers, like the levels or the time. First, I'll take the levels. I'll take new animation and I have them slide in, just like we slid them out. Cool. Make it shorter, because people have the attention span of a goldfish. Now we will go to time. Again, new animation, slide in, reduce the duration. The next thing that you want is, as you can see, the smaller dynamic island is just pops in, right? We need it to blur in as well. So we'll head on to the second dynamic island and we will have it blur in from the bottom. New animation in, this one's quite easy, blur and slide in. Okay, my bad guys, I had it go from the top to the bottom instead of the bottom to the top. We want it to go up like this. Yeah, cool. How did that look? It looks good. Now we'll add some pulse to our heart again. We'll go down the layers, navigate to the heart icon. We'll select new animation, custom, and scale. Scale it down to 85%. Reduce the duration. I find this easier than After Effects in the sense that it was quite easier to, import all of your files as compared to After Effects, which is, if you're working in Figma files, to import Figma files to After Effects, I have never done it, but just trying to imagine it feels like a code. So yeah, so our heart has one pulse, half a pulse. We will duplicate that. So guys, now we are done animating our entire sequence. The only thing left now is to export it. Now here comes the question, because Jitter has a freemium model. It is not completely free. It is not completely paid either. So follow along. When you go onto the export button at the top right, press on it, you see a bunch of options like video, 4K, 1080, 720, video 0.5x, 1x, that is speed or the quality, I don't know. Then we have the GIF as well, GIF or GIF, I don't care, at 0.5, and the only quality available is 0.5x, which is not so good, right? And we have Lottie. I don't know if you guys know what Lottie is. So yeah, so the only option that you might think to take is 720p video, right? But that is not the good option, because one, the quality is super low. Second, I'll show you what happens when you do select it. Just a minute. See, when you select that video, you get a watermark right here. So this is quite ugly. After making such a beautiful animation, you won't want such an ugly watermark, right? So I'll show you how to avoid that and get a high quality export for free. Follow along. So firstly, we'll press the Lottie button. We want a Lottie export. Okay, might seem counterintuitive, but that's what we are looking for. Let this export over here. Until then, I will go to Lottie to GIF converter, or Lottie to MP4 converter. Actually, Lottie is a separate website. There's a company that manages and with JSON files. You will get this in the form of a JSON file. Okay, don't worry, it's something simple. I'll create a new folder, heart rate, save, and it has saved it as 1:1 JSON. Okay, now I'll go here, Lottie to GIF converter. I'll go to Lottie Labs. make sure that you're going to Lottie Labs and upload this file of ours. I just find this in my Finder. Okay, just hide this for now. Hide this for now. This is the JSON file. Do not be afraid. It's nothing scary. I mean, it is scary, but don't be afraid. We'll just drag and drop it over here in the Lottie to GIF converter. Increase the frame rate, because the higher the frame rate, the smoother the video. The resolution can either be 1x, 2x, which is complete twice the quality, or 1080 pixels, which is a really good dimension again. For now, I'll keep it as 1x because that serves better. If you decide to export it as an MP4, you can again search as MP4 and go onto that link and drag and drop again. The reason I prefer GIFs sometimes is because it loops really well. If let's say I want to, okay, over here in MP4 I have the option of selecting the frame rate. I'll select 60, 1x. How many times do I want to repeat? 1x should be enough. Resolution of 1 times, yeah. And while this is converting, I'll just rant to you. Yeah, the GIFs that we have, GIFs loop really well. Okay, as compared to videos and MP4 formats. If I want to present it on Behance or Dribble, I do not need to embed them as a Vimeo code, which I need to do in the case of a video. GIFs just seamlessly keep looping and they just play really well. They do not need a player over there on Behance. That's why I really like GIFs. Apart from that, this now meanwhile file is being converted, we have nothing to do. So guys, our MP4 and GIF have been successfully completely converted. Now we can press the download button, select where we want it to be downloaded. The GIF is done. MP4, of course you can download it in any one format, whichever you like, or 2 formats as you please. So here's the GIF. Looking cool. Congratulations, you made your first animation. On to many more. We have the second one, the MP4 version. Even this one looks pretty good. It just doesn't loop, but it looks pretty good as well. That is it for the tutorial, guys. Let me know in the comments whether this actually worked for you or not. If you have any issues, I'll make sure to answer most of your comments or all of your comments. And let me know what other kind of tutorials or videos you would like to see. Like, subscribe. See you guys in the next one. Bye bye.